The viewer that sent me this PS5 was definitely scammed. The viewer said they dropped it over a year ago and the HDMI port broke. They took it to a local shop that said they could try to fix it, but ended up not being able to after asking me to pay an additional fee to fix it. They then just returned my broken PS5. I have correspondence for it all, and luckily I do have that correspondence, so let's take a look and see exactly what the shop said. They start out by talking about some of the solder pads that were damaged. Blah, blah, blah. We can attempt to repair this by replacing the missing capacitor and repair the damaged solder pads. Blah, blah, blah. The additional cost for this repair would be $100. This customer already paid $174. So the shop is saying they will charge an additional $100 to fix the damage. That would be a total repair fee of $275 to replace an HDMI port. There are a couple scenarios that can be taken. You'll pick up the PS5, we'll refund you $100, which is essentially a $75 labor charge for the removal of the motherboard and HDMI port. So they're saying they'll charge $75 just to tear down a PS5. Option 2, we attempt the repair for the $174.99 that you've already paid, plus an additional $100 labor charge for rerouting and repair of the solder pads. So here's the problem with that. I have a picture of what the shop sent to the customer, and it's a problem. In this picture, we can see one torn solder pad. The thing with this solder pad is it's a ground pad. It's not even really needed. The other thing is this pad is fine. I don't know why they put an arrow there. There's zero problems here. This pad just has a blob of solder, a little flux and a soldering iron over that. We'll just remove that real quick. And then we have a missing capacitor. That's cheap and easy to find and replace. And I don't see any reason why that would cost an additional fee. Even if it was though, sure, $25 to replace the capacitor. So essentially this shop wants to charge $100 for simply replacing a capacitor. That's about a 5-minute job, and I find that to be ridiculous. So here's the other ridiculous thing. If we are unsuccessful due to the damage, the total charge will be $125 plus tax. So that means that the customer would receive back a broken PS5 and they would have paid $125 just to get that broken PS5 back in the exact same condition. This is also assuming that the repair shop removed the HDMI port properly, which may or may not have happened. Also, I need to remind you, they ended up not being able to fix it after asking him to pay the additional fee. Luckily, we have the PS5 right here. Let's get it apart and see what the shop did right and what they did wrong, other than, you know, scamming the customer. Now, anytime I make one of these videos, I want to be sure to fully disclose that I am relaying this information as I received it and as I understand it from the person that sells me or sends me their device. I don't contact the repair shop. In most cases, I don't know who the repair shop is, and so I'm just taking the word of the person who sends it in. Come on. If I can tell that the person contacting me is obviously just lying or trying to scam me or something like that, then obviously I don't take that device in and I don't make a video about it. I only make videos when I think the person sending me the device is being honest and truthful to their knowledge. Also, I'm doing some testing on some precision electric screwdrivers. This one is from Creation Space. I'm testing these out because I'm thinking about having some custom TronicsFix screwdrivers made. So let me know in the comments if that's something you might be interested in the future. And I'll keep testing them to find the best ones and then maybe have some made. Now with all those screws out, we can get the plate off and have a look at the board and see if we see any problems so far. All right, and here we go. Everything looks fine so far. I really should have turned this thing on to see if it even worked, but clearly I did not. Okay, and no issues so far that I can see, just with my naked eye. And liquid metal, definitely, it looks like they didn't do a great job cleaning off all the oxidation. So it looks like right here and some over here and here looks to have some oxidation under there. Can't quite tell for sure, but there definitely isn't good coverage here or here. All right, let's get this HDMI port under a microscope and see if we can figure out why it's not working. Bamboo Labs sent me their A1 3D printer. I've never even used a 3D printer before, so this will be a true test to see how easy this thing is to set up and use. One of the things that I noticed while I was unboxing this is just the quality of packaging and how well everything was safely put into the box. As I was looking over the instructions, I noticed everything was simple and everything was labeled, so when I needed to get a certain screw, it was right in the bag that it was supposed to be in. The Bamboo Lab A1 is a high-quality, beginner-friendly 3D printer that's easy to set up and use. Not only is it easy to set up and use, but Bamboo doesn't sacrifice performance to make it easy to use. It's both easy to use and very high quality. I love that it's both affordable and it also looks great, so you can show it off in your house instead of hiding it over in the corner. Another great thing that I love about the Bamboo company is that they have an integrated ecosystem to support their printers. They offer Bamboo Studio, which is an open source, cutting-edge, feature-rich slicing software, and MakerWorld to help you find interesting and useful stuff to print. MakerWorld is where I found what I'm gonna print today. I also love that I can use this ecosystem right on my phone. Okay, and it's all put together, all calibrated. Overall, I can say that I'm pretty happy with how easy this was to set up. And then as far as calibration, you just hit a button and it just does all that by itself. Now I've got to figure out what I want to print for my first ever 3D print. Let's load up some spools and get something printed. So I want to do something fairly easy, but also useful for my first print. So I'm going to print these multimeter probe adapters so I can use the probes with one hand. And I think that's all we need to do. Let's go. And I think it is starting. So the other thing I love about this is you can see the status right there, but also I've got the status right on my phone. So I can walk away and I can go do something else and keep an eye on this print just right from my phone. And we've got about 3 minutes left, 93 out of 99 layers. And that is coming along really nicely. I've avoided getting a 3D printer literally for years because it all seemed too intimidating to set up and learn how to use. Whereas this printer, I set it up and it does everything else. And there we go. Our print is done. I love the fact that there's so much metal in this 3D printer. This whole arm and a bunch of the bed is all metal, so I know it's gonna last a long time and it's very high quality. I see a lot of 3D printers out there and some of them I'm really not sure how long they're gonna last. Probably haven't waited long enough to take this off yet, but we're gonna try it anyway. And there we go. Okay, now I'm just gonna trim this up a little bit, trim off the supports. See how our first print looks. And just looking at the print quality, I mean, I think it looks amazing. Granted, I am pretty new at this, but I am surprised at like the lack of lines and grooves on this thing. And now I can use my multimeter one-handed. My first 3D print is a huge success, and I'm already way more confident in 3D printing because Bamboo Labs makes it so easy. And after just a few hours of printing, we've got a Minecraft skeleton. We've got a controller stand for the PlayStation 5 controller. I think this also fits other controllers. We've got a sign right here for TronicsWife. We've got a Tic Tac shooter. And then of course we have the wastebasket for the printer itself. I love that I can print useful stuff like this, but also just fun stuff like this. And probably the thing that I love the most is I just found these right on my phone and sent it to the printer and the printer did the rest. If you want to learn more about Bamboo 3D printers or you want to buy one for yourself, I'm going to leave my affiliate link right in the description so you can check one out for yourself. And yeah, I can immediately see some issues. We've got some solder bridging these pins back here, maybe here. Actually, a bunch of these look to have some solder bridging the pins. That one's not connected. That one's not connected. That one's not connected. That one's not connected. So a bunch of these pins aren't even connected. It looks like the capacitor was installed correctly, but I mean, the rest of the problem is just bad soldering. So let's see if we can get that fixed up. And I'm gonna resolder all these joints and see if that'll fix it. All right, I'm gonna come in with my large iron and just try and heat up all of these pins. That should help to pull any solder back there up towards my iron. Hopefully, that's the goal anyway. kind of hard to tell if it's working, but I think it is. Now I'll do some left-handed soldering to get this part over here. I'm melting the back of the port a little bit, but that shouldn't be a big deal. Should still work just fine. Okay, so now hopefully all of those bridges have been brought forward. Now let's just double check and see if those pins are still loose. Oh, that one, no, that one is not. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes when there is flux because that's liquid and it changes when you touch something. But okay, so this pin right here needs to be resoldered, so we'll do that next. I'm gonna come in with my small iron to do that. Here we go. And I'm just gonna go ahead and resolder the other pins while I'm here. All right, well, let's see if that fixed that pin. Yep, okay, all these pins look good. I'm gonna clean this up and then we'll take a closer look and make sure we got all those bridges out from under the port. And if we needed even more evidence to prove that this shop was just scamming, you can see right here if I move this pin, it still moves, which means they didn't even fix the pad that they were charging the customer extra to fix. Now that we have their shoddy solder work fixed up, let's get this PS5 back together and see if that's all it took to fix it. Let's also, yeah, look at that. Let's also fix this oxidation on the main chip, the APU. This is the heatsink side, obviously. And here we go on the actual chip. So I'm using some IPA and a cotton swab to rub off the oxidation that's here. We'll let it dry a little bit, and I'll use a clean swab. Just come through and make sure we got it all. Yep, that's looking good. And that's looking good. Now I'm just gonna come through and get all of the liquid metal off of the edges, like right here. And we'll start applying it on the top, just like that. And then we'll rub it in. Same thing over here. Perfect. That's what it's supposed to look like. Now we'll flip this over, get it installed onto the rest of the frame, and continue the reassembly. With the clamp on, we can install the metal plate and the 42 totally necessary screws. And with all those screws in and the Wi-Fi cables routed, disk drive cable installed, now we can put the disk drive in. That goes just like that. The disk drive will be secured with the screws that go through the case once we get that installed. And here we go. Now I just left all the screws in their holes. That way I didn't have to keep track of where they go. I have it mostly memorized by now, but sometimes really easy just to keep them in their holes. Makes things a little bit harder to line up, but other than that, it works really well. Okay, now we just need to tighten these and then get the fan in. Now we can plug it in and see if it works. Anyway, the power cable plugged in and the HDMI cable plugged in. Let's power it on and see if we get anything on the screen. Oh, black screen, good maybe? Ah, yeah! So the only thing wrong with this PlayStation 5 was just a bad solder job on the HDMI port and the repair shop that it'd be a good idea to scam the customer out of money because they did a bad job. If you have a great story about how you got scammed by a repair shop and you still need your device fixed, I'll leave a link for a form you can fill out on my website and maybe you can be featured in a future TronicsFix video. Thanks so much for watching today and I hope you have a good one.